Good morning, everyone. I'm glad you're here. I'm Lindsay Bridges from Charlotte Center for Mindfulness. If you're new to us, and whether you are watching live now or watching the recording later, we're grateful to be practicing in this mindfulness meditation, sharing these resources with you. So, uh, an outline of our morning. We're going to do about a 25-minute guided meditation to start. Then I have a sharing, and afterwards, if you would like to join in the Zoom room for more conversation, would love to have you. Um, the Zoom link is down in the description box below, and at the end, I can put it in the chat box as well. So glad you're here. And let's begin. So finding some posture that best supports your body. Eyes open or eyes closed, whichever feels more comfortable for you. And I'm going to ring the bell, and I invite you to see what it's like to let your awareness fully come with curiosity to the felt sensation of sound of this bell, this vibratory nature reaching your body. I'm going to ring the bell one more time. See what it's like to listen from the very beginning of the sound all the way to the very end. And if the mind gets distracted during the sound of the bell, that's no problem. Allow yourself to notice, distracted mind. And then use that awareness to slowly guide yourself back to listening, to re-ground, recentering, moment by moment, welcoming any opportunity to regather your own awareness with an intention of self-care. And in that same way, we simply open up the hearing, the felt sensation, sound of the bell. Open with curiosity, hearing, listening, whatever sounds you hear. Maybe there's sounds outside your room, sounds in your room, sound of my voice, this recording coming through, this live stream coming through. sounds in your own body. Notice that difference between curiosity about felt sensation, vibratory sound, between that and being caught up in some story about a sound. Oh, that sound is this. Oh, I wish that sound would go away. Oh, I wish there was more of this sound. Judging, liking, disliking, or just getting lost in the story of the sound. Feel the difference between caught up in that virtual thought world about a sound and the actual felt sensation of sound. As you do this, it's very likely that the mind has already been distracted, maybe even multiple times. What is it like to not let that be a problem? No matter how distracted the mind might be, letting that never be a problem is just noticing what's arising in this moment. So while we're using sound to center and ground ourselves in these opening moments, if what you're noticing instead is that the mind is really active and going to this or that, whatever it is, maybe you need to shift. Bring that same open curiosity to the felt sensation of sound, bringing that willingness to be with right to whatever's calling the attention of your mind. The sound we can notice fairly easily the difference between curiosity about vibratory felt sensation and lost in a thought stream about the sound. So, how do we use that knowing to understand a different way of being with our distracted mind as well? Notice there is this possibility of not being caught up in the thought stream, in the story of wherever it is the mind wants to go, but instead dropping into the felt sensation of distracted mind. How does this distracted moment of mind impact the body? What's the felt sensation of it in the body, in the head, in the mind? Doesn't really matter what the distraction is. Maybe it's an anxiety, maybe it's a worry, some sort of fear state. Maybe it's just some people making noise, a dog making noise. Maybe it's something in the body. Maybe it's thinking about something that you might be doing later today, or that you have this sensation of, oh, I need to get this done. It's coming up in this moment really strongly, trying to pull you away from here. When we're inviting this curiosity, let yourself, one, deeply acknowledge the distracted mind. Really own, this is what's coming up right now. Know where your mind is getting pulled to and give it some very simple label: thinking, feeling, worrying, listening, planning, whatever it is for you. Give some name to what you're noticing. And then play with allowing yourself to own the distraction, the stress, the worry, the whatever it is. Own that this is what's arising in this moment now. Not caught up in it, but deeply acknowledging, yes, this is what I'm feeling, experiencing in this moment right now. Whatever this is, let yourself notice where it is in the body. Again, that difference between the story about it and the felt sensation of it. Drop deeply into the felt sensation of whatever's here for you this moment right now, whether it's settling into the breath, whether it's caught in a distracted thought storm. One is as worthy of our attention as the other. Maybe even as you're paying attention to the distracted thought storm, trying to see it in the body, the mind just gets yanked back out into the story again and again and again. See what it's like not to make a problem of any of it. The mind gets yanked out again and again. That just tells you how strong its current is. Use that information to deepen your compassion and your kindness for this being human in your experience now. There's a lovely teaching that what we get stressed about, what we get caught up in, points to something we care about. So, in this owning whatever is arising, what is it like to open up? What does this let me know about what I care about? Not getting caught up in a whole thought story about that. Just allowing a sense of your values, a sense of what you care about most, to rise up and see what of that informs this situation for you. So in this way, you actually allow the distracted mind to guide you back to your root. Whatever you're feeling in the body, also explore ventilating it with the breath, drawing the breath right in, Breath guides us back to a natural intelligence that's always here in this body. We often get caught up in thinking how unbalanced, out of center, ungrounded we're feeling, not recognizing that no matter how intense that feeling is, it's still relatively superficial. There is a remarkable balancing, recentering, regrounding going on every moment in this body. And just one simple manifestation of that is the breath moving in and out. So, in whatever way the breath is useful, is helpful, for allowing yourself to be with whatever is here in this moment for you. Use the breath. Use that natural balancing of in breath and out breath. Drawing in new life, new energy, each in breath, each out breath is deep letting go. Whole body breathing. Another way, our body is always in connection. The balancing, a centering, a grounding. It's right through gravity. It's connection with the earth. Use sensation of gravity in the body in whatever way that best or allows some sense of supporting, rooting, grounding. Connection between the earth and every cell of your body. Consider how a great tree grows to such strength and height, right through its roots, down into the earth. That gravity, that connection, that rooting down actually has this other energy that lifts skyward. Her own roots connecting down into the earth, allowing the spine, the neck, the head, gentle upward lifting. What we most need is already here. We allow enough patience, enough time with practice to open up to these skills, these energies of balance, recentering, regrounding, all already here in this body, mind, heart. Not only patience to open up to what's here, it's also a deep respect for our own lived experience moment by moment, not wishing ourselves to somehow be perfect mindfulness practitioners, but willing to be with our moment, distracted, settled, anxious, worried, calm, peaceful, bored, painful, joyful, happy, ease, whatever it is. This willingness to be with the whole of the experience with deep respect. Deep willingness to meet the moment just as it is. From Rumi, the guest house. This being human is a guest house. Every morning, a new arrival. A joy, a depression, a meanness. Some momentary awareness comes as an unexpected visitor. Welcome and entertain them all, even if they are a crowd of sorrows who violently sweep your house empty of its furniture. Still, treat each guest honorably. He may be clearing you out for some new delight. The dark thought, the shame, the malice, meet them at the door laughing. and invite them in. Be grateful for whoever comes, because each has been sent as a guide from beyond. Nice practicing with you. It's kind of sweet to see all the good mornings from Gwen. Good morning, all. Lakshmi, good morning. Paul, good morning. Beverly, good morning, everyone. Glad to be here. Emily, good morning and happy Passover and happy Easter to those celebrating. Thank you for that. And I think that's Cheryl, but I'm not entirely sure. But S. Goodman, good morning. Glad that you are here. Gary, good morning. Clark, good morning. And Maureen, hello. And so, for those of you who haven't had a chance to say something here, or if you want to add a gratitude, let's just take a moment to pause right now. When we are living in a world full of so much stress, it is really helpful to pause and reconnect with gratitude. In that meditation, we talked about the anchor of the breath, we talked about the anchor of gravity. Gratitude actually is another anchor that we can use. So I really invite you to type gratitude into the chat box if you would like to share that as well. And George, good morning to you too. And I'm going to type one in as well. Um, let's see. So we have, it says Gary, good morning from Stephanie. Love that. Thank you. Grateful for this time together. And mine is I'm really grateful for my daughter. Y'all don't know how much behind the scenes help she has been in getting not just me, but all of us at Charlottesville for Mindfulness up. And Karen Knox has also done a lot with that too. So I just want to express gratitude for them as well. So I have a sharing for this morning, and it's right in line with the Rumi, the guest house. So I would actually want to start with that. And before I go into this, I just saw Nancy put her name up. Nice seeing everyone again. Nancy, we've been missing you. So it's really nice to know that you're sitting here with us. And that goes to everyone who has put your name in the chat box, or if you're sitting with us unnamed, really glad that you're here too. So, the guest house, Rumi. I find myself coming back to the kind of wisdom in this poem again and again right now. There's a really radical wisdom that at first take may feel hard to accept or have. Just listen to this line. Welcome and entertain them all, even if they are a crowd of sorrows who violently sweep your house empty of its furniture. Still treat each guest honorably. When I teach with this poem in the class, I always stop at that line and I ask, why? Why would you do that? No matter what group I'm with, and no matter how strong an initial reaction might be to, no, that's wrong, the group inevitably comes up to some version of, you treat these guests honorably because they're already here. Therefore, it's easier to work constructively with them than it is to get plowed over by them. When we stop to consider this, we know this truth. We understand this. And Rumi doesn't even stop there. He goes on and points it out even more clearly. The last line, be grateful for whatever comes, because each has been sent as a guide from beyond. This is a profound teaching of how to orient in the face of stress, no matter how hard, how to orient in a way that allows whatever happens to make us stronger, clearer, more connected with who we want to be instead of less. If these challenges are already here, how do we use them to be our strongest, best, wisest, kindest self? In the live stream a couple of weeks ago, I shared about Antonovsky's work back in the 1960s, 1970s, studying what allowed a deep resilience among Holocaust survivors. And this day of Passover is just like even more reason to hold in our hearts all of the people in the world, and naming these survivors who managed with a sense of being even more connected with life. So what Antonovsky found in his studies was the same kind of wisdom as in the Rumi poem. 1,000 years ago, Rumi wrote it. 1960s, 1970s, Antonovsky studied it, and we're still learning about it here today. How we meet our stress makes all the difference. There is a kind of well-being that has nothing to do with the life without stress. There is no such thing as a life without stress. There's stuff, obviously, that happens beyond our control all the time. Current world situation, an unbelievable lesson in what we have no control over. So the key observation here is that there's a way to orient ourselves in the winds of the stress we meet that matters, and that this has been known and studied for a long time. Probably studied for as long as humans have been conscious to our power of choice. So, what brought me back to this week was a beautiful article in the Monday New York Times written by researchers Carrie Lebowitz and Alia Crum. And I actually already put a link to the article in the description box below. It is a powerful reframing of this old idea. And they write, we can actually use stress to improve our health and well being. Over a decade of research, ours and that of others, suggests it's not the type or the amount of stress that determines its impact. Instead, it's our mindset about stress that matters the most. So that line, that's actually really powerful. That's in direct contrast, with what has been shoved at us for a long, long time, that stress is toxic to our health, that stress is what is taking us down. And what this is saying is it's not so much stress that is taking us down, it's about how we are in relationship to stress. The exact same thing Rumi said 1,000 years ago, the same thing Antonovsky found back in the 60s and 70s. So I love this term. Crum and Leibovitz call this our stress mindset. And it's important to notice what kind of attitude, what kind of mindset we have with being stressed, with this stress itself. So they give an example of a study in which study of 30,000 Americans. Those who had the highest level of stress were 43% more likely to die, only if they also believed that stress was bad for their health. In contrast, those who experienced the highest stress but didn't view it as harmful were the least likely to die compared to any other group in the study, including those who had very little stress. So even with very little stress, if we believe that stress is harmful for us, that is in fact more harmful for us than having high stress but believing it's not harmful. That's worth looking at. And this is the basic wisdom of mindfulness practice. That we have within our ability the power to change our mindset about stress. So I love their framing of this, and they give a very simple, very practical 3-step process, and we actually use some of it in the morning meditation. And not only do they say, here's this 3-step process, they go a huge step beyond that and have gifted everyone online open access to what they call their toolkit for affecting your own mindset towards stress. Allows anyone to explore this. And in that New York Times article, there is the link to the toolkit. And if I don't have it in the description box, I can't remember at the moment, I will add that link as well directly to it. And they really studied this toolkit. They have used it, they say, with Navy SEALs, with college students, with business leaders. And what they find is that while people's actual stress levels may not change, the external situations they're in are the external situations they're in. But when people use these skills, they develop an entirely new experience of their stress, one that actually allows them, no matter the stress level, to be healthier, not just feel healthier, but to actually be healthier and more effective in their lives. So I want to briefly share these 3 steps as they offered them in the New York Times. And I'm pretty much drawing the rest of these 3 steps straight from that article, which I highly, highly recommend. So they say, step 1, acknowledge your step. First step in making stress work for you. Just listen to that line. The first step in making stress work for you is simply to see and acknowledge that stress is here. Labeling your stress consciously and deliberately moves neural activity from the amygdala, the center of emotion and fear, to the prefrontal cortex, which is responsible for executive control and planning. If you have sat with me before, you know we use Dan Siegel's model of the brain and the flip lid. The amygdala, our survival center, fight, flight, freeze. When we are caught up in our stress, we are down in its grip and its control, survival mode of being. And when we begin to acknowledge and name our stress, we bring our whole brain back into activity and allow a totally different possibility of working with whatever's here. So they say this step is also opportunity to understand what's at the heart of your personal stress or anxiety. Are you worried most about getting sick? Are you worried about a vulnerable loved one? Are you most stressed about balancing working from home with family responsibilities or losing your job? Once you determine what you are specifically stressing about, then you examine your reactions. What emotions are going on? Frustration, sadness, anger. What do you notice in your body? This is all basic mindfulness. Can I see what's here, acknowledge it, and find it in my body? Do you feel tightness in your neck and shoulders? Do you have difficulty sleeping? Let yourself be really curious about your own reaction and how it plays out in your body. Step 2, love this, own your stress. The next step is to welcome or own your stress. Why would we want to welcome stress into our lives, especially during a pandemic? They say we only stress about the things we care about. That's a lovely reorientation. We only stress about things we care about. By owning our stress, we connect to the positive motivation or personal value behind our stress. If we deny or avoid our stress, we may actually be disconnecting or denying ourselves, disconnecting from the things we value the most, the treasure the most. So, one way to connect with our own values and goals behind our stress, they suggest completing this sentence. So, listen to this sentence and see what it might be like for you. I'm stressed about, fill in your own blank, one stress there, because I care about, and fill in what you care about. So just pause and take a moment to do that for yourself. I'm stressed about, name one thing for you. Because I care about. Notice what that does for your own body, what kind of impact that has. Step 3, use your stress. Connecting to the core values behind your stress sets you up for the third and most essential step, using or leveraging stress to achieve your goals and connect more deeply with what matters the most. So their suggestion, ask yourself, when you're caught up in that habit mode of dealing with your stress, are those reactions actually in alignment with your values? For example, if you're worried about your family getting sick, because you care about their health, is snapping at them for not washing their hands long enough the best way to protect your family? If you're worried about the impact of the coronavirus on society, is seeking out constant news coverage the best way to support your community during this time? Think about how you might change your response to the stress so that the stress actually is impelling you to better connect with your goals, your values, your purpose, and what you can do that's actually positive in this moment. There's so much happening right now, they say, that we can't control, but many people are also noticing unprecedented opportunities amid the fear. Some psychologists argue that true transformative change can only happen during stress or crisis. The trick is to channel your coronavirus stress as energy to make the most of this time. So, trying to utilize our stress during the scary time might sound overly optimistic or even unfeasible. But consider the alternative. Failing to embrace our stress only creates more stress. The virus and our response to it are incredibly complex. But later, we will be able to ask ourselves how we each responded to the crisis. Did we live in accordance with our values? Did we make the most of this opportunity to learn and grow personally, to connect with loved ones, and to prepare for the next time we face a crisis? I highly recommend that you read the whole article and take advantage of their free online toolkit offering. It's really a beautiful offering that they are gifting us with. So let's just pause to close for a few moments and contemplate these 3 steps right now for ourselves. So if you want to close your eyes and find some position that best supports your body, allowing yourself to do that, whatever way is right for you. Offering a couple of nice deep in and out breaths. In this moment right now, consider the first step. Acknowledge your stress. Pick one thing, maybe not even the biggest, but one that's okay to experiment a bit with it. What is this one for you? Where do you feel it in your body? What does it feel like in the body? What is it like to simply acknowledge and respect its presence here? As Rumi says, be grateful for whoever comes. What is it like to offer a moment of actual gratitude for this stress showing you something about your life? Step 2, own your stress. We stress about things we care about. What do you care about that's underneath this stress right now? Kind of values does stress point to that are useful for you to reconnect with? Fill in this sentence for yourself. I'm stressed about because I care about. And finally, use your stress What ways are you reacting to this stress in your usual habit mode? And are those reactions in alignment with your values and how you want to be in the world? How might you find different possibilities? What kinds of different possibilities are available to you? Do you consider this stress as a motivator to realign your life with what you care about most? Thank you. So appreciate you taking the time in your morning to meditate with all of us together. Charlotte Center for Mindfulness, we're committed to keeping these live streams every weekday up. And whatever way they might be useful for you, we want them to be here and available. They're all freely offered. If, however, you would like to make a donation, we deeply appreciate that. And if you go to our website, you can hit the donate here button and um, know that there's boatloads of gratitude coming towards you for either just practicing with us or giving something financially if you are able. I also want to say in the next couple of days, I will have an introduction to mindfulness online course put up. We'll meet on Wednesday evenings starting next week. Um, uh, we'll meet at 7 o'clock, 7 to 8 for 4 weeks for 1 hour. An intro to mindfulness class if you have interest. Haven't figured out the new registration on the new website yet. So as soon as I get that technology figured out, the registration will be open. And it will also be a pay as you are able course. We want you in the course if it would be useful for you. So I see George is reminding about the New York Times article information. It is in the description box below. So hopefully you can access it there as well as the Zoom room. And I will be sending out a newsletter that will have the links to this too. I feel like this is a helpful enough teaching. It warrants a lot of information. So let me just get the Zoom link in case you don't see it in the description box. I'm going to put it here and push return. And I wish I had the New York Times article pulled up that I could put it in the chat box too, but it is definitely in the description box for this link. So lovely being with you all this morning, and we'll close with just a moment of practice. We'll pause right now, offering a breath in and out, and take a moment to notice whatever's present in your own body, mind, and heart in this moment. And what's it like to meet it with respect, honoring that this moment just exactly how it is, not how you think it should be, but how it is, has something to teach and guide for you. May I have compassion and understanding for myself just as I am. And may I use that wisdom, compassionate understanding of this moment to guide me in this life. May we all experience this joy and freedom, compassion and understanding, deeper wisdom and respect for ourselves and each other, all beings everywhere. Sending out care and good wishes to our world. and all that's going on this moment for everyone. Thank you, and hope you can join me in the Zoom room.